Torah Life Ministries, come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
Hello everybody, welcome to Torah Life Ministries, and I want to just talk about this topic of modesty because a lot of people were asking me about it, especially after the last video we made. And we have to think about and talk about modesty. It's not only for women, it's for men also. And a lot of the way people dress today is culture, but it's also, modesty has a lot to do with the culture we live in. And back in the 60s, women were first, a new era of women from the 50s, and they were breaking out of their shells, so to say, and started to reveal their private parts to the world. But it's always, been the same thing with men, where men were quite conservative even in the 50s. But then in the 60s, during the sexual revolution, men started to become more free in their choice of clothing as well. And so much so that it's become completely normal for men to walk around with no clothes, walking around with no shirt, walking around in their underwear pretty much. And it's become very common and normal where you can go most places, and even though in some places it's still illegal for women to walk around with no shirt and let their chest hang out, but men, it's okay for that to be done. And I find it quite interesting, the ideas of nakedness and modesty and the separation of one over the other. Why is it normally and accepted okay for a man to walk around with no shirt, but not okay for a woman? And I'm not condoning it being okay for a woman, but I'm saying, why does a man think it's okay for him? And when we go back to the Garden of Eden, we have to understand, man and woman were naked, and they covered up. They covered up. They made their little bikinis made of fig leaves or whatever they were. But Yahweh didn't just cover the woman up because they were naked. Yahweh put tunics on both of them. And there's many ideas about the tunics and what they represented. But the point is, they were naked and Yahweh covered them up. For some reason today, men believe that it's okay for men and women to be naked, but the society today has just about caught up into accepting the equality of both men and women to be completely naked. But scripturally, I think it doesn't support that. Scripturally, it supports men and women covering up and just covering their bodies. And I think the more people draw close to Yahweh, there's going to be a shameness in even being around people that aren't completely covered up, and especially of the opposite sex. And I don't mean shameful that they're seeing that. I mean a shamelessness of just why would they even want to be around something like that? It's just not a good thing. So one of the measuring sticks you could use to determine how close or far you are from Yahweh is if you are in the presence of the opposite sex and they are not wearing much clothing and it's not your spouse. How do you feel about that? Does that bring you joy? Do you get pleasure out of that? Or is that something you want to be as far away from possible? And I will use the word feeling sorry, or does it disgust you that somebody would do that? And this is somebody's wife or somebody's husband or somebody's child, and you don't want to see them out of their normal attire of a shirt and covering their body. You don't want to see men and women just walking around naked. It's a great measuring stick to show where a person is with their walk with Yahweh. So modesty is for men and women. So keep that in mind. Men and women of the world are enjoying nakedness. Men and women of the world today are enjoying the sexual revolution of throwing clothes away and wearing as little as possible. The bikinis has been accepted as normal, and walking around naked with no shirts is accepted as normal. I am a naturalist. I love to walk around with no shirt on in my yard and soak in the sun. I think it's healthy to do so. But when you're in the presence of other of the people, especially the opposite sex, I do not believe it's scripturally mature or respectful to do that. And it's very uncomfortable if I go to somewhere. And it's one thing if I'm at the gym in the locker room and a man's walking around without a shirt. That's one thing. You know, it's one thing if I'm in the garden and you know, and by myself. That's one thing. But if I'm walking on the street and I don't want to see a man naked, but I certainly don't want to see a woman naked. And I would definitely consider a red flag if I desired to see a woman naked. So hopefully this will just help you realize modesty is for men and women. And if you don't think, you know, some people say, well, it's just a piece of cloth. What's the big difference? Why does it make a difference what a person wears? Well, when I dress like this in a video, and many of you comment, why are you dressed like that? Obviously, it does make a difference. And how we look does make a difference. If I walk on a street like this, somebody will have a particular comment to say. It does make a difference of how you dress and what you wear and what you put on. So, dress righteously, dress modestly, and cover up your bodies. All right, put your comments or questions below. Until then, everybody have a great day, and shalom, shalom.
Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.